So air pollution is one of the important pondering problem that the world is facing. So recently there was a report that has been released with reference to the air quality. So the report was World Air Quality Report. So there was a report called World Air Quality Report. So this report has been released by a company called, it is like a Air, IQ Air. IQ Air, it's a air quality assessment company based on US. So according to the report released by IQ Air, so there is, when we talk from the perspective of particulate pollutants means particulate matter 1, particulate matter 2.5, particulate matter 10. So there is suspended particles which are there in the environment. So from that point of view, if you look, so Delhi ranked 4th. Delhi city ranked 4th in terms of its findings. So almost out of 50 cities, Delhi is the first city that is being, Delhi is the 4th city that is ranked at 4th position from India. So here, when we talk from its reports point of view, around 131 countries have been considered for the criteria for the assessment, and out of that India was one of the country. So in India it is being said that there are some states, like some areas like Delhi is one thing and Moradabad was another thing, so which has been identified as two important places of most polluted places likewise. So this is one thing which shows the severity of the problem. Okay, so here when we talk from the perspective of international level, so there are some of the countries like, let's say, Chad. Where is Chad located? In which continent? Yes, Africa. Good. So Chad is one country, then Iraq is one country, then Pakistan is one country, then we have India, and then we have Bangladesh. So all these are nothing but some of the important, Bahrain and Bangladesh. So Bahrain and Bangladesh. So these are some of the top countries with most particulate presence of most particulate matter. So that is one finding from the World Air Quality Report that is being released by IQ Air Company. Okay, so that is one thing. So usually when we talk from the perspective of WHO's level, World Health Organization's recommended levels of particulate pollutants, usually it should be less than 5 micrograms per meter cube. So this is the recommended level of particulate matter that should be present in the air. So till then that is allowed. Anything beyond that, it is considered as the polluted. So when we talk from the perspective of Delhi, what is the level of particulate pollutants that is present means it is around 92.6 micrograms per meter cube. That means it is roughly, you can see, mostly 15 times, 6, okay, so around 90, so 6 times, mostly 5, okay, 92 means around it is roughly 18 times more than the recommended levels. So that's the level of deteriorated quality of air pollution, presence of particulate matter in the air. So that is one thing. So from this point of view also, air pollution is one important topic that we have to proceed. Okay, and then if you look from other point of view, there is other report called Air Quality Life Index report. Okay, so Air Quality Life Index. There is another index called Air Quality Life Index. So this index has been released by, generally it would be released by EPIC, an organization called EPIC. EPIC means it is Energy Policy Institute. Energy Policy Institute of the University of Chicago. okay, from the University of Chicago, the Energy Policy Institute, which is belonging to University of Chicago. So this has released an index called Air Quality Life Index. So according to this, usually it tries to assess the impact of particulate matter on the life expectancy of the individuals. Okay, how particulate matter in the air will impact the life expectancy of the individuals. That would be assessed by this index. Okay, so this is another astonishing index that which shows that roughly around, if you talk from India's perspective, out of these rankings, India ranked second in this index. So where around, if you talk from the perspective of its impact, so usually from Delhi perspective, if we talk from Delhi's perspective, it is roughly 11.9 years. 11.9 years is the cost of air pollution. That means on an average, the people are losing 11.9 years due to the pollution. For example, if you are, let's say 70 years is the expected life, then out of that 11.9 years we are losing due to the particulate matter pollution. So that is the severity of the air pollution. So in the similar fashion, it has given various findings. So these are all some of the indexes which shows that air pollution is one of the aggrieved issue at present. Organizations. So quickly, just have a look. So Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So this is the ministry that is concerned with the various aspects related to environment, forest, as well as climate change in India. And when we talk from this, so just go through some of the activities, some of the important aspects, like what are the principal activities that are undertaken by this ministry. So it is concerned with activities like conservation and survey of flora, fauna, forest and wildlife, because there is forest component of forest. So all the activities related to forest, flora, fauna, all those things would be done. And then prevention and control of environmental pollution, because it is also environmental ministry. Okay, so that is one thing. Then afforestation and regeneration of degraded areas. So that is another thing that is being done, because forests, it further includes vegetation, afforestation, such kind of things. Then protection of the environment and ensuring the welfare of animals. So environmental protection and controlling of the environmental pollution, all those things, they will fall under the purview of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So that is one important thing that you have to remember. And when we look at other organizations, important organizations, we have one important organization called Central Pollution Control Board. You remember Central Pollution Control Board. Okay, it's a board which is responsible for controlling of the pollution at this central level. Okay, and at the state levels we have various pollution boards. So they are nothing but state pollution control boards. Okay, likewise. So we'll have two bodies. So here when we talk from CPCB, we'll call it as simply CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, or SPCB means State Pollution Control Board. And here when we talk, it is basically, it is a statutory organization. We are calling it as a statutory organization. What do you mean by statutory organization? What is the statutory organization?
So that relies power to the law.
Yes, or which has been constituted by or with the help of an act of a parliament. So that is nothing but statutory organization. So here when we talk from the perspective of CPCB, so CPCB, it's a statutory organization that has been formed due to under an act called Water Prevention and Control of Act 1974. So have you heard of Water Act? Have you heard of Air Act? Have you heard of Environmental Protection Act? Okay, so when we talk from the perspective of the basic important legislative framework related to environment, so can you able to recollect what has happened in 1972? Yes, there was Stockholm Conference. Aftermath of Stockholm Conference, Immediately after the Stockholm Conference, there various governments have, in response to the provisions done under the Stockholm Conference, they have done so many activities. So, as aftermath of that, in India, what first thing we have done is we have enacted Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So that we have enacted. So as to take some of the activities related to protection of the wildlife. Okay. So then, second thing, what we have done means we have tried to we have enacted Water Act. Try to remember Water Act. Now, Water Act. So prevention and control of pollution. So that would be subsumed. So Water Act, it is 1974. Okay. So then the next level, what we have done means we have an act called Water Cess Act. Cess. So from economy, can you able to recollect what is cess? Cess is nothing but it's a surcharge. It's a kind of tax that is levied, and the income that is generated would be used for same purpose. Cess is likewise Swachh Bharat cess or education cess. So that is one thing. So Water Cess Act 1977. So this is another important legislation that we have enacted. Okay. So then there comes Air Act. Air Act 1981. I am writing in short. Air Prevention Control of Pollution, likewise it comes. So Air Act 1981. So you have to remember this thing. So then what has happened? In the year 1986, we have got Environmental Pollution Act. That means Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1986. So this we have done. So 1986. So then later on, we have moved towards like Convention of Biological Diversity Act. So Biodiversity Act, Biological Diversity Act 2002. We have proceeded likewise. So these are nothing but some of the important legislations that have been done with reference to environment. Okay. Now, you remember when we have enacted Environmental Protection Act? In 1986. Now, we have to constitute a body which is concerned with protection of the, concerned with prevention of the air pollution. So, pollution in total. So, we had already this act, Water Act in 1974. So what we have done? So we have constituted a separate bodies like CPCB and SPCBs under Water Act, because this was the first act that has been done with respect to the component of environment. Are you able to follow that? So that's why you remember whenever CPCB is given, so that would be that has been constituted under this act. You remember that. And there we have another body called Environmental Pollution Conservation Authority, EPCA. Environmental Pollution Conservation Authority. So EPCA is there. So it is another body. So that is usually concerned with the process of implementation of graded response action plan with reference to Delhi and NCR regions. So this has been constituted under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Okay, so you remember this thing. Okay, so that is another thing that you have to remember. So likewise, we will have some legislations and some bodies. So here, when we talk from the perspective of CPCB, so it has been constituted under this act. So as it has been done, constituted, the very basic thing, it is pollution. Pollution means it also includes air pollution also. So when we have enacted Air Pollution Act, Air Act 1981, so this act, that means CPCB is also entrusted with the powers and functions under the Air Act. Are you getting that? It has been constituted by this act, and it has also entrusted with the powers and functions under this act, because air pollution, water pollution, two different components. So in order to look with respect to air pollution, we have entrusted some of the powers from this act also. So it derives powers from this, and it has been constituted under this act. Okay, so these two aspects you have to be very much careful, I'm saying. Okay, so that is one. So that is one organization, CPCB. And in the similar fashion, you might have heard about National Green Tribunal. So National Green Tribunal is another organization, another another organization which is concerned with the environmental pollution. So it is also a statutory body. It is also a statutory body. So in polity, you might have studied about various constitutional, non-constitutional bodies. Under non-constitutional, NGT is one thing, National Green Tribunal. So through which act it has been constituted? So National Green Tribunal Act 2010. So through this act, it has been constituted. So you have to remember that one. And where are the various benches and what is the composition? So these things you have to go through once. Okay, so just to go through once. So this is also one another important body. So then if you see Central Water Commission, so there is a commission called, yes, yes. So it's National Green Tribunal Act. Can you see? National Green Tribunal Act 2010. So this is the act under which NGT has been constituted.
So it just draws inspiration from what was written. You just see the basic act and provision.
Yes. So it is the act that is responsible, that has led to constitution of that. So it derives powers and functions from this act. Okay. So that is one thing. So then in the similar fashion, we have like Central Water Commission. So Central Water Commission, it's an organization that functions under currently the Ministry of Jal Shakti. So we have Ministry of Jal Shakti, we have constituted separate ministry. So it functions under that. So its responsibilities were with respect to control, conservation and utilization of water resources throughout the country. So responsibility of conservation and proper utilization of the water. So that is the work of Central Water Commission. So you try to remember, this is one organization related to environment. And then we have a board called Central Groundwater Board. So we have one board called Central Groundwater Board. So this is a subordinate office under the Ministry of Water Resources and Government of India. Okay, so you try to remember that, and you try to remember, just go through with its functions and responsibilities. So what are its responsibilities? It has been entrusted with responsibilities of providing scientific inputs for management or exploration or monitoring of all the activities related to groundwater resources. So Central Groundwater Board. So that is one thing. So this is another aspect that you have to remember. That is another organization. And then we have Central Groundwater Authority, Central Groundwater Board, Central Water Commission and Central Groundwater Authority. So this is the authority. So authority means it is composed of various members and where they have some sort of power with them. So this has been constituted under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Remember under which act they have been enacted. That is very, very, very important because questions have been asked already. So same question, it's been asked, like which of the following organizations have been constituted under Environmental Protection Act? So that was a question. They have given all these options and they asked to pick the option. So from that point of view, these things are very, very important. So likewise, so what are the powers? Powers means they are all with respect to groundwater aspects. So that is the powers and responsibilities, but it has been constituted under Environmental Protection Act 1986. So you remember this thing. So this is another important thing. So then if you see with respect to the various legislations, we saw Water Act 1974. This was the first thing. So under this, CPCB has been constituted and SPCB has been constituted. So that means it endorsed or it vested the regulatory authority with respect to the pollution control boards, and it was the act that was responsible for constitution of these things. Okay, so that is one thing. And Air Act was there. So This is Air Pollution Prevention Act 1981 and Amendment Act 1987. So this is another act. So then Environmental Protection Act. So when we have enacted this means in 1984 we had Bhopal gas tragedy. Do you remember Bhopal gas tragedy? So aftermath of Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984, what we have done, we have tried to enact an act so as to which can be helpful in prevention of all sorts of pollution. So aftermath of Bhopal gas tragedy, we have enacted Environmental Protection Act altogether. So this is one of the outcomes so as to implement the decisions made by Stockholm Conference. So in Stockholm Conference, they have taken so many decisions. So as to realize that objectives, we have done or enacted this act. So that is one thing. So here there are some of the bodies, like let's say eco-sensitive zones. In coming up classes, we will get some things like eco-sensitive zones, and we have some coastal regulation zones. So these things like eco-sensitive zones, coastal regulation zones are constituted under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. Like Central Groundwater Authority has been constituted under the Environmental Protection Act. And in the similar fashion, we have EPCA, Environmental Protection Conservation Authority. EPCA has been constituted under this act. So you have to remember what are the various organizations or what are the various things that have been constituted under that. So 4 things you remember. One is eco-sensitive zone, other one is coastal regulation zones, and other one is Central Groundwater Authority, and other one is EPCA. So these are the 4 things that you have to remember from this act. Okay, so simple questions, factual questions, we have to have analytical perspective. So likewise, so these are nothing but some of the act. So NGT Act we have, and just go through these rules. So in next class they will be useful for you. Okay, so when we go to plastic pollution, all those things, they will be useful. So for now, these acts would be sufficient for us. So that is one thing. So just go through them. So very important points would be there here, and you no need to refer any other source for these things. You can just go through likewise. So questions would be there, like let's see, simple questions. Which among the following crops, which one is the most important and anthropogenic source of both methane and nitrous oxide? Methane and nitrous oxide would be released from which of the following crops? Sources of the pollutant. That was a question based on that. So can you answer for that? It is rice. It was the rice, from rice. And can you see here, in the guidelines, the context of WCO, consider air quality of the following. So there they have given in 24-hour mean, PM 2.5 should not exceed 15 micrograms per meter cube, and annual mean of PM 2.5 should not exceed 5 micrograms per meter cube. So factual information. So we may feel like when we say about such kind of 5 micrograms, we will feel that that may not be useful, but sometimes having that knowledge is also important. Okay, so that's why we have to go through and we have to know some of such kind of minute values also. So that's why reports and indices, you follow the reports and indices also properly. Okay, likewise, so just go through such kind of things, and thus you will get the relevance of why we should read them. So there you see, which of the following has been constituted under Environmental Protection Act. Okay, so they have given the things, so you should know what is the thing that has been constituted. So can you see options? Central Water Commission, Central Groundwater Board, Central Groundwater Authority. So options would be confusing, so we should be accurate enough. Okay, so answer here is Central Groundwater Authority. So like such questions can be possible. So simple questions, but yet we have to we should be able to crack them. And look at this question, like simply they have given, consider the following: carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, ozone, sulfur dioxide. So excess of which of the above in the environment are the causes of acid rain? So usually we have said two components. What are they? Nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides. So these are the two things. So 2 and 4 would be the answer. Is that clear? So likewise questions would be there, and do not neglect anything, any portion that we are circulating in the documents. Whatever we are circulating in the documents, you make sure, even if you can read all of those documents, then definitely you can solve the questions. Definitely I am saying that without any element of suspicion, I am saying you can solve them. Okay, provided you have to go through at least once and you have to have basic analysis. Now you see, with reference to the water and the planet Earth, consider the following statements. Look at these statements, how simple they would be. We won't focus, but they would be the question. That would be the questions. The amount of water in the rivers and lakes is more than that the amount of groundwater. Okay, and you see the amount of water in the polar ice caps and glaciers is more than that of the amount of the groundwater. For this, you have to have the knowledge of composition of water on the earth, like how we have done with the composition of air. So you need to have knowledge.